I'm ready to get some history taught to me as well. And I've been hearing some things, passing on some things as it relates to what it is and how we function and operate. And I was ready to roll, like I said, and you will get it. I guess we'll get it Monday. I wish I could show you my notes and stuff doing on the four wills of God, but we'll start on that on Monday, I believe. But I always yield to what God wants me to yield to. But I want to share with us a lesson. It's really, if I'm coming up with it, it's really dealing with unity and togetherness. And we hear different people do different things. And even what I talked about over the last couple of days as it relates to social injustice and social issues, one of the problems that we have, and I look back at it now and I said to myself, my God, what if Dr. King was still here, Medgar Evans and those lights, and Sister Rosa Parks and those? What would transpire? Because that generation, our generation, I'm always appalled that we seem to have so much more now. I'm not talking about that's available to us, yet we accomplish so much less than people that seemingly back then, our ancestors I'm talking about, seem to have had so much less, but they accomplished so much more. And I think that the truth of all that has to be in unity. I think it has to be that, they were more unified than we are. And so our generation has to get unity. And I just want to show you a story of unity, because there's some things that we talked about. I had a gentleman, I Facebooked out that set out a plan that, we need to come together. And we're one of the few races of people that won't come together, pool our resources, walk in the same direction. And until you do that, we don't understand the power of unity. And so when I look at it, I want to read you a story that talks about this, and this is what we need to do, and this is why we're not able to overcome in this time, because we as a people have to come together. If we don't do it for ourselves, it won't get done. Absolutely, we need our other brothers and sisters of different race and background to assist, but until then, we're gonna have to do something for ourselves. And so when he shared with me, I knew the story, and then he said, print it and write it, and let's talk about it again. So let me educate. Hopefully my young folks are listening. If they're not, even my older parents, listen and give them this story, because it's a story of unity. Now watch. It says the Montgomery bus boycott was a civil rights protest during which African Americans refused to ride city buses in Montgomery, Alabama, to protest segregated seating. Now, they wouldn't allow them to sit where they wanted to sit on the bus. You had to sit in the back, but then the more white people came on, you had to get up and give white people your seat, move further to the back. So it would have looked like, it almost like the middle passage. All the blacks were jammed up in the back, while all the whites sit comfortably up front. That was just the law that was going on back then, racism happening on there. And so they understood, okay, we're going to have to do something about this. And when you do something about it, it's a cost. And what I share with you as it relates to America, nothing gets America's attention but the moolah, the loot, the money. You gotta go after the money. You can picket and protest and this, but if you don't touch that money, what do they care? I use the same analogy back again. It's worth repeating. Same thing with bad churches. You want to get a bad pastor out of a good church? Stop giving the money. He'll get out. Can't survive without the money. But as long as he's bad and you keep giving, he'll stay there. And if he's going to stay there and you keep giving, stop complaining. And that's what I want to get us to us. If we're not going to attack the money, let's stop marching. Let's stop protesting. Let's stop getting angry and tearing stuff up. We're going to have to do something. The boycott, look, this is what I want you to see. The boycott took place December 5th, 1995. 1995 now, and is regarded as the first large-scale U.S. demonstration against segregation. 4 days before the boycott began, Rosa Parks, an African-American, was arrested and fined for refusing to yield her bus seat to a white man. The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately ordered Montgomery to integrate its bus system. And one of the leaders of the boycott, here we go, a young pastor named Martin Luther King Jr. emerged as a prominent leader of American civil rights movement. And one of the things we talked about before, folks were saying, even in this pandemic, and they're going back a little bit with what we got going on, and the name comes up now about Colin Kaepernick. Well, the problem that we have with Kaepernick and what he did, the brother came out and laid it on the line, lost his job, lost his income, lost his profession, all for the cause, and we didn't even get behind him. Rosa Parks did the same thing on this front, but the difference is the people got behind him. Now fast forward from Colin in 16 to now in 2020. Now it seems like the people are behind George Floyd. Well, if we were behind Kaepernick when he started, maybe George Floyd would be alive today. No better time to start than the present. But we have to get behind. And the problem with when Kaepernick did it, we didn't see it, and nobody got behind him. And so he was almost left on an island by himself. But the people stood behind Dr. King. All you need is one voice, one person that makes sense for your country and for your kinship. Get behind them. In 1955, African Americans were still required, watch now, by Montgomery, Alabama, city ordinance, it's a city ordinance, to sit in the back half of city buses and to yield their seats to white riders in the front half of the bus, reserved for whites, was full. If it was full, we start sliding all the way back. Watch now, but on December 1st, 1955, African Americans seamstress, there she was, Rosa Parks, was commuting home on Montgomery's Cleveland Avenue bus from her job at a local department store. She was seated in the front row of the colored section. They not marked up. When the white seats were filled, the driver, J. Fred Blake, asked Parks and 3 others to vacate their seats. The other black riders complied, but Rosa refused. Now here we go now. Now move your seat. Let me help you. They were seated. But what happens is when the white front got full, then we kept moving into your place. And so they told him where Rosa was. She was sitting there, and 3 others were with her. They said, you guys need to move and go to the back and move. 3 other folk got up and moved, black folk. Rosa said, nah. And that could have been one of those days where her corn was hurting. I don't know, but for whatever the reason, her ankle might have been swollen. You know how we do when we keep walking too much. And so Rosa said, no, I ain't moving today. Not today, I ain't getting up. Now, the law, this is what I'm telling you. We got to change laws. It says here that the city ordinance in Alabama ordinated that to say that's right. So what they were getting her on is the law that was on the book. The law said when the front got full, then we moved the whites further to the back, and all the blacks sitting up there, you got to move further back, like sardines, like the Middle Passage. She said, no, I ain't moving. She was arrested and fined $10 plus a $4 court fee. This was not Parks' first encounter with Blake. In 1943, she had paid for her fare at the front of a bus while he was driving. I think Blake had something against Rosa. Then exodus so she could re-enter through the back door as required. Blake pulled away before she could reload the bus. Listen, this is 1955. You heard what I just read? Blake, the driver, interesting, the same dude, but you know it tends to be, because you know if y'all ride public transportation, generally it's the same bus driver unless he's sick or retires or whatever. So you become familiar. But here's what he's saying now, so I don't want you to miss this. Rosa came in through the front, paid her fare, went down, sat down, the bus got full. He told her she needed to get up, but she had to get up, go out the front door where she came in, walk down the bus, and coming through the side door. Y'all know what I'm talking about in public transportation. You come back in that way. He did that on purpose. Because the story says when she done paid her fare. She got out to walk down, being obedient and coming aside. When she got out the front door, he pulled off and left her. These scoundrels, man. Put off and left you. And so, although Parks has sometimes been depicted as a woman with no history of civil rights activism, at the time of her arrest, she and her husband, maybe that's what I'm reading, babe. Watch this. I ain't even picked it up till now. She and her husband, Raymond. Oh, so I was married to Rosa. Why ain't nobody told me? But anyway, she and her husband Raymond were, in fact, oh, baby, that might be a revelation. Okay, Pastor First Lady got to get on the move because I just saw my name in history. She and her husband Raymond were, in fact, active in the local chapter of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, and Parks served as his secretary. I don't know what Brother Ray was doing, but she was the secretary. Upon her arrest, watch, Parks called E.D. Dixon, a prominent black leader, who bailed her out of jail and determined she would be an upstanding and sympathetic plaintiff in a legal challenge of segregation ordinance. African American leaders decided, watch now, they decided to attack the ordinance using other tactics as well. What tactics they're going to use? We're going to find out now. The Women's Political Council, the WPC, a group of black women working for civil rights, began circulating flyers calling for a boycott, there we go, of the system on December the 5th. The day Parks would be tried in municipal court. The boycott was organized by the WPC President Joanne Robinson. You got to look at it now. We're calling out for this country, but we got to come together and do it. What they did to affect this pocket, we're going to do a boycott. Who we boycotting? We boycotting the system that's against us. We got to arrest somebody's attention as to what it is. Watch. As news of the boycott spread, I'm talking about unity, which we don't see today. I'm talking about oneness. All these folk protesting and marching. If we come together and make a stand on this economy about what we ain't buying, what we ain't eating, what we ain't doing, I'm talking about even my Caucasian brothers, but even if they don't, because the plight ain't against them, we have to do it. And we have to stand strong. Love what they did. I'm going to get into it. As news of the boycott spread, African American leaders across Montgomery, Alabama's capital city, began lending their support. Black ministers announced the boycott in church on Sunday. See, I like to announce the boycott on church on Sunday, but we need our African American ministers to stand with us. This ain't going to work if just part of us do it. This wouldn't have worked if just half the people rolled, half the people still rolled. You're going to see in here, I might go ahead and give up the punchline. You're going to see in here that they all got together. Everybody, every African American person, we're doing this. It's for our cause. This was December the 5th that they did this. They decided we ain't riding the bus, the public transportation again in life until our means and these changes that we're requesting come to pass. And I know what they do to us. They say, yeah, I hear you. That's because it's summertime. You talk that noise there. Wait till January, February, December comes. We'll see when it gets cold up in here. We'll see. No, once you make a commitment to do what you got to stand with it. They knew the consequences. What man, before he sits down, don't set out and count the cost? They knew what they were up against. But they said, no, we're not going to do this. And I told you, I watched that when I was in Memphis. And they had it. And these people, what happened? No one rode the public transportation, what we say, from December the 5th, 1955 till December the 20th, 1956. A year and 15 days, 365, 375, 380, about 385 days, they stuck to the plan. What did they have to do? They still went to work. but they had to walk, ride bicycles, carpool. Pickup truck would come through the neighborhood, jumped on the back of pickup trucks and rolled through the city where they were and jumped off one with another. Sacrifice. Sacrifice. And the Montgomery bus system was thinking, we're going to wait them out because eventually they're going to have to start riding. No one rode it that was African American. So you can sit wherever you want, Mr. White Man, now on the bus, because you got the whole bus. We'll walk. Bus pulled up to the bus stop. They were standing there. Doors open. I said, no, we're not coming on. We're waiting on the pickup truck to come behind you. We're going to get on the back of the pickup truck. I said to you the other day, we've got to be willing to be inconvenienced, sacrifice, take 3 or 4 steps backwards so we can take 100 steps forward. Sometimes you got to go back before you go forward. Let's read on. As news about black ministers announced a boycott in church on Sunday, December the 4th. And the Montgomery Advertiser, a general local newspaper, published a front page article of the plan. Now he announced this on December the 4th, one Sunday. Monday they jumped on it. Watch, approximately 40,000 black bus riders, the majority of the city's bus riders, boycotted the system the next day. December the 5th. That afternoon, black leaders met to form the Montgomery Improvement Association, MIA. The group elected Dr. King, right now, Dr. King. I think Kaepernick, I forgot what he was, but he's close. Dr. King, the 26-year-old pastor of Montgomery's Dexter Avenue Baptist Church, as its president, and decided to continue to boycott until the city meets its demand. How long are we going to boycott? Until the city meets our demands. How long are we going to boycott? There's no time frame. Until the city meets our demand. When did the city meet their demand? 380 plus days later. Can we stand? We talk about restaurants and food, and you gotta govern your appetite. I mean, well, I got taste for Chinaman. I got taste for this. Cook your own food to stand the course. Stop being so weak and frail. We're not gonna get anything unless we bind together. We're doing this to bring about a cause, not because they didn't do this to be mean. This is the only way they're gonna hear us. Money, wealth. Initially, watch what I'm telling you. Initially, this is what I got to teach you. Initially, the demand did not include changing the segregation laws. They didn't have started like that. Rather, the group demanded courtesy, the hiring of black drivers, and first come, first seated policy with whites entering and filling seats from the front and African Americans from the rear. That's what they were pushing for. Ultimately, however, a group of Montgomery women, represented by attorney Fred D. Gray and the NAACP, sued the city in U.S. District Court, seeking to have the buses' segregation laws totally invalidated. Working the system, working the law. We ain't riding, we going to court, getting the laws changed. If y'all want us to start riding, change the laws. You don't change the laws, we ain't riding. You see in history, we can repeat this. Although African Americans represented at least 75% of Montgomery's bus ridership, the city resisted complying with the protesters' demand. Let me read this in today's language. Although African Americans represent 75% of the National Football League, although African Americans represent at least 75% of the National Basketball Association, you don't see no similarities. Even though the city resisted complying with the protest demand, to ensure that the boycott would be sustained, watch what the leadership did. Black leaders, or I told y'all that, black leaders organized carpools, and the city's African American taxi drivers charged only 10 cents, the same price as a bus fare for African American riders. Now, I'm letting you know now, that's what I'm saying. We're inclusive. We're not talking about secluding nobody. We're talking about inclusive. The taxi drivers, they say now, you know, my African American brothers, they're going to pay 10 cents, the same thing they would pay on the bus. So it didn't hurt them. But if you white folk want to ride in my cab, now we're going to charge a regular fare. Oh, that ain't fair. No, we trying to get what's fair. See, how you can say the cab driver ain't fair, but the bus policy is fair? White folks said that. That ain't fair. Then non-thinking black folks say, well, that ain't fair. Well, it ain't fair for them to sit on the bus and give up their seat. They pay the same money that everybody else paid. So I'm talking about what ain't fair when you allow one race of people to do it and another race of people not to do it. On June 5th, here we're coming down to the wire, 1956, a Montgomery federal court law requiring racially segregated seating on buses violated, they ruled that it violated the 14th Amendment, you think, to the U.S. Constitution. That amendment, adopted in 1868 following the U.S. Civil War, guarantees all citizens, regardless of race, equal rights and equal protection under state and federal laws. You think? Yeah, it's written, but who enforces the law? If you're going to write the law and you're the one that enforces the law, we're in trouble. We know what's been written. We're talking about what we need to have enforced. The city appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court, which upheld the lowest court decision on December 20th, 1956. Montgomery's buses were integrated. Watch. Montgomery's buses were integrated on December 21st, 1956. And the boycott ended. It lasted, here are the numbers, the boycott lasted 381 days. I'm asking my African American brothers and sisters, how much is it worth? Let's stop talking and playing games. Want to do something. And I'm telling you, after 381 days, that Montgomery public transportation system will going to go broke. Places around here will go broke if you don't support it. You have to demand where you have strength. Our strength is in our buying power. We probably make less than any race of people, but we spend more than any race of people apparently. How is that possible? Because we're consumers. And so we have to come back and say, we got to stop thinking about me, myself, and I. We got to think about the larger cause. I know it's difficult for these professional athletes to give up that huge salary, but you're going to have to think about your children and your children's children. You won't have to give it up long. That's a trick. You think you get it back. You'll get it back a lot sooner than you think. Soon as they realize they can't make money without you, they'll come and talk. Let's talk. I gave my wife the same little story about, my sports bar with Emmitt Smith and the Dallas Cowboys and old Jerry Jones down there a couple years back. I don't know the year, but Emmitt Smith, one of the top running backs, leading rusher in the NFL to date, I believe. But he played for the Dallas Cowboys, being, underpaid. And, we look at that and frown because, you're making, double-digit millions, you're still saying underpaid. Well, because that's not what the market bears. For you and me, it's that's a lot of money. Be a huge lot of money for me because I ain't nowhere close to that. But in the NFL, that's a lot of money. Considering, no, not a lot of money based on what you're making off of me. That's all he's really saying. So Jerry said, well, I love you, man. We good, but we can't pay you that. So Emma said, well, I'm not going to play. What? He's the best running back they had at the time. I'm not going to play. Well, don't play. It's good. We can bring somebody to take your place. Played 2-3 games in the season, got waxed, lost them all. Players came in after that and said, listen here, dude, talk about the owner. You better get him back here. You pussyfooting around with this game and this league, and we losing all the time because you got jokers in the back, can't do as good as he had, all because you won't pay this man the money, and you got the money. Pay this man his money. I think they were saying, pay this man his money or none of us going to play. And so now he would see his franchise folding. Quickly got on the phone call, Em said, can you come talk? Let's renegotiate. He paid him what he wanted. Like the boycott. Emma stayed out all camp, all beginning of the season, came back in. So you pay my money? Okay, I'll come back and play. Came back and played. Dallas Cowboys took off, won the Super Bowl. Irony? I think not. You got to know your worth. You got to make them pay you. You got to make them let you ride where you want to ride. You got to make them. You got to make it. You got to make it uncomfortable so that you would make them do it. Saying racism, or racist, I should say. We got to get progress. How do we get your attention? And I'm telling you, money. Integration, however, met with significant resistance and even violence. This is back in 1955. While the buses themselves were integrated, Montgomery maintained segregated bus stops. Snipers began firing into buses. 1955. Firing into buses. And one shooter shattered both legs of a pregnant African-American passenger. Now they're hot. You got to let them ride. But they say, okay, we're going to let you ride, but you get on that bus corner. Why? Because we're going to put you together so when we start firing shots in that bus, we don't hit no white person. They've been doing this. Got to do something else. In 1957, watch it now. 57. 4 black churches and homes of prominent black leaders. Listen to me. Read this. Let me pull up my pad. And give it to all these folk that hollering about shooting and looting and stealing and burning. I ain't hear nobody say nothing about this. Not agreeing with it. But when you do it, it's all good. But when we do it, we wild African Americans out of control. But in 57, 4 black churches and homes of prominent black leaders were bombed. A bomb at King's house was defused. On January 30, 1957, the Montgomery police arrested 7 bombers. All were members of the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist group. Arrests largely brought an end to the bus rioting violence. Not only that, burning houses, burning cross in the land, burning people's livelihood. This ain't new. You were doing it. Not advocating, but I'm just telling you. Some of this double jeopardy. The Montgomery bus boycott was significant on several fronts. First, it was widely regarded as the earliest mass protest on behalf of civil rights in the United States, setting the stage for additional large-scale action outside the court system to bring about fair treatment for African Americans. That's what they were trying. That's what we were trying to do. Let me check my time. Almost done. Second, in his leadership of MIA, Martin Luther King emerged as a prominent national leader of the civil rights movement while also solidifying his commitment to nonviolence resistance. He tried nonviolence. King's approach remained a hallmark of civil rights movement through the 1960s. Shortly after the boycotts ended, he helped found the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, a highly influential civil rights organization that worked to end segregation throughout the South. The SALLC was instrumental in the civil rights campaign in Birmingham, Alabama. In the spring of 1963, that's the year I was born, the March on Washington, wish I was here, but only a day old, I guess. In August of that same year, during which King delivered his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. The boycott also brought national, international attention. That's what we're getting now. The boycott will bring national and international attention to the civil rights struggle occurring in the United States. As more than 100 reporters visited Montgomery during the boycott to profile the effort. I told you, if you write about it and you do it, they'll come. Rosa Parks, while shying from the spotlight throughout her life, remained an esteemed figure in history of American civil rights activism. In 1999, the U.S. Congress awarded her its highest honor, the Congressional Gold Medal. This thing happened in 1955. They're talking in 1999. They're going to honor her. Listen, all I'm saying is we can stop talking about it, but we have to be about it. And my concern is we don't have the same kind of unity. That's my concern. So we're going to have to get together some kind of way and talk to all of us and say, are you with me? Because Bible even says, Who's on the Lord's side? And what we want to say on this is, who's on the Lord's side? Black, white, red, brown, or green. Who's on the Lord's side? And what we propose to do until a change comes, we want everybody that's on the Lord's side to fight with us for the cause. But we have to be prepared to wait them out, because they, like they did in the boycott, they're going to try to wait us out. No problem. We got convenience of the world. Go back to where we used to be. You ain't got to buy every piece of clothes that come out. You ain't got to eat at every restaurant that comes out. You don't have to play on their field or on their court. We can create our own thing. Not trying to separate, trying to bring awareness and attention. So why are you separating us? Well, bringing us together ain't working. We're not achieving nothing together. You don't want us to have nothing together. So let's do our own thing then. And what we're saying, when we do our own thing, you can come in. You can come in. When Montgomery boycotted the bus, if you were another race, then you could have joined in with us. I ain't riding the bus either. I'm sure there was some Caucasian people in the cause and in the fight. Same as it is now. You say the same thing. Well, I ain't eating over there either. Well, I ain't going watching them games either. I told you before. In conclusion, the owners of these professional sports, they're not worried about the fans in the seat. They're prepared to go on without that. They need the players on the field and on the court. That's what they can't deal with. And then they don't need not any players. I recall back in my day when we had the Scab League, I think the football was on strike, and they brought players off the trash truck company to play games. I'm just being facetious. But they brought, non-popular players to play. That ain't last long, because America said, we don't want to watch that. Them jokers out there playing, they played football. But it wasn't the quality of football that they were used to. So they quickly amended things and got it back together. Then the players came back and they played. Still got the same power, same unity. Love America. Just got to get right. That's all we're saying. And I want to show, God wanted us to show, one of my directions, but I know what God wanted to do, want to show what the power of unity would do. Maybe that scripture, the scripture that says the Tower of Babel. It's about unity. He said, oh my God, God said this. The people are on one accord and with one mind, in one language, I'm paraphrasing, one idea, one concept. The people are as one. And with that mindset, nothing will be withheld from them. Anything they imagine to do will be done because the people are one. And we as a people have to become one. Away with this people separating us, and you got, black folk talking against black folk and this, that. No, we got to come together, because at the end of the day, if you're black, you're black. I don't care what you say. Are we perfect? Absolutely not. But we got to get on one accord, because it affects all of us. I'm telling you, I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how fast you run. I don't care how high you jump. At the end of the day, there is somebody that will put you in your place and remind you at the end of the day, with all your money, at the end of the day, they're going to remind you, you're still black. I don't care how you try to act and call it. At the end of the day, when the rubber meets the road, all those folk talking out against, and we this, and they don't know why we doing all this for George Floyd, and blah, 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 and the president's doing a great job. I heard one lady talking about the president's been good for the African-American race. Is you crazy? Is you crazy? Where you been? And going back and forth, okay, we're not going to have all, unfortunately, but the majority, we got to be on board. And we can bring about a change in this country if we get on one accord. My time is up. I thank you for yours. Father, we thank you, praise you for your word. We thank your word shall not return to you void, but it shall accomplish everything you purpose to accomplish in this earth realm. And for that, Father, I thank you, and I pray now that the words out of my mouth that you've told me to share today, that you would season it with love and grace, that it may permeate the hearts of all mankind to know that what Dr. King says, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We just want justice for all mankind. kind. Cause us to always say and do what is in your heart, that we may obtain the favor of God. We love you. We appreciate you. First, I ask the question, who's on the Lord's side? If you want to be on the Lord's side, I'm not saying on the black side, on the white side, on the red side, on the green side. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about on the Lord's side. Whoever's on the Lord's side, that's God's people. Black, white, red, brown, or green. Who's on the Lord's side? That's what we need. Because the Lord's always right. And he's always on the right side. We're not right in and of ourselves. We're right because we joined with right. Christ is right. And if you join with Christ, that makes you right. If you're not right, first let's join with Christ. Say, Father, I want to be right. I heard that right is only where you are. Show me where you are so that I may join you. Then that will make me right. Come into my life. Show me right. In Jesus' name. Amen. That's not a black prayer. That's not a white, red, green, or brown prayer. That's a human prayer. It is the will of God that none should perish, but all should come into a saving knowledge of who he is. Let's do what Jesus would do. God bless you. Love you. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow night. Our motto is one God, one love, one church. Stay blessed in Jesus' name. See you tomorrow night.